Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cavill.
What is up on a Tuesday afternoon? Thanks for joining us as always as we go live. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. He's Greg. I'm Nick. Greg, let's start with the news that came out late yesterday. Not a surprise if you're watching the game on Sunday night. Antonio Gibson done for the season, torn ACL. What is the impact of his absence?
Yeah, I think it's pretty big, Nick. I mean, in some respects, I mean, it is running back, and he was sort of third on the pecking order behind Stevenson when he's not fumbling all the time, and Travion Henderson, and sort of getting him touches in the game. But I think it's pretty big in terms of, and we even saw it for flashes in the Buffalo game that. There are times, and you could say even back to last season, that he's one of the most effective running backs on the Patriots, and he can do a lot of different things. Kick returns, which he ended up getting hurt on, sort of being an every down back. Also, used to be a wide receiver and in college, and so he's pretty adept at coming out of the backfield. And so I think that he. Just his presence. He's also a great teammate and a leader and that type of guy. So it's big, and I don't think they're going to replace all of those things in one guy. Maybe they will, but I think it's vital for them to find somebody that can fill at least run with Stevenson as sort of the lead back. They need somebody like that. I don't think it's Travion Henderson. I don't think it's Terrell Jennings, who's on the practice squad. So they're going to have to do something.
Yeah, and the Stevenson fumble stuff just makes it even more impactful, losing Antonio Gibson, because now you don't feel like you can just go to somebody, right? I mean, Travion Henderson, we've been down this road before. I don't think you or I have changed our minds about him. He's not going to play 60% of the snaps. I'm telling Patriots fans right now, stop. Stop with the obsession of Travion Henderson and wanting him to play 60, 65% of the snaps and getting 25 touches. He is not that kind of running back. He was not that kind of running back at Ohio State. He's not going to be that kind of running back in the NFL when the guys are bigger. It's just not going to happen. So stop wishing for something that's not going to happen. And the Ramondre Stevenson fumble stuff, as I said, it's an issue now because you got to handle this running back rotation without Antonio Gibson, who should have been that second kind of go-to guy who could split the snaps with Travion Henderson. And now you're kind of stuck here. And I thought it was obvious on the kickoffs, Greg. Look, it's during the game and in real time. You go with somebody who probably has a little bit of experience at practice and taking kickoffs and all of that. So they went with Ramondre Stevenson. He's not the answer as a kickoff returner. He doesn't have the explosiveness and the fumble issues. the last thing you want. I was shocked it was Stevenson on Sunday night. Maybe again because they don't feel like they have a better option in real time. But a guy who fumbles returning kicks, you're just asking for him to give the football to Buffalo in your red zone. So I don't think he's the answer on special teams.
I totally agree with you. And, internally, I even heard, one of my members over at BSJ was like, could Marcus Jones be back on kickoffs? And also I've heard, could Marcus Jones play some running back? Like, along with the Henderson thing, could people please stop with Marcus Jones and Travion Henderson? Like, just leave them alone. Marcus Jones, between playing, nickelback, which he did a great job against Buffalo. I thought he was one of the best players in the game. The punt returns, like, that's enough. And the offense is certainly in the pass game is efficient enough. It's getting better. He's not a running back, and you want to put him back on kickoffs. That's even more of a collision position, at least on punt returner. Like, you can run out of bounds or go down. Like, you're not always the chances of getting like popped at full speed are less than, the kickoffs, you're just going into a wall at this point. And I don't want Marcus Jones anywhere near those walls. Now, does it get a chance? Does a guy like Efton Chisholm perhaps get a chance to return kickoffs? Possibly, but they're going to have to figure something out.
As far as how aggressive you get if you're the Patriots and trying to replace Gibson, how aggressive do you get, Greg? Do you go outside the organization and try to pull off a trade? Do you see what you have in Jennings and Henderson and Stevenson for the next couple of weeks? How do you kind of handle this if you're Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, Elliott Wolf?
So, they kept Jennings around. I always think of him as a smaller back, but, looking at his measurables, the guy's, 6 foot and like, I don't know, 215 or something like that. So, he's not a little guy. I think that probably the steps that I imagine the Patriots will take, I think we'll see a full complement of tryout running backs from the street in today for the Patriots. They'll take a look at what they have there. I think in the short term, Jennings gets promoted from the practice squad. They don't necessarily sign him from the practice squad right away. I think you get up to 3 elevations before you have to do that. And I think what you do is sort of evaluate it over these next game or two, unless the street people are just bums and you're like, we don't want anybody. But you probably sign a street guy maybe to the practice squad and you can do the elevation thing. And then I would evaluate it because I'm very leery of, I have a feeling that with the Saints and the Titans coming next up on the schedule, people are going to get bored a little bit and it's all going to be talk about the trade deadline. And I understand it. There's still a ways to go. There's basically almost a month until we get to the trade deadline. There's a lot of football to be played. There's a lot that could go on. To this point, knock on wood and good for them. The Patriots haven't really sustained like a major injury to a key component. They have Gibson, but, not exactly, a starter or something like that. Certainly valuable, but not, a starter where you're thin. I'm just worried about, doing too much too soon because I want to know what this team looks like closer to the trade deadline and what they really need to put themselves not over the top, but give them a little bit more of an edge down the stretch in the playoff race. So, for example, like if, Hunter Henry went down in the next 4 games, you're going to need to do something major at tight end. And so take a look at the street guys, bring Jennings up, evaluate that. And then if you don't like what you see over the next game or two, I would do some sort of trade for somebody. And it shouldn't be a major investment. It should be some sort of, one of these pick swap things where you're not really losing a draft pick. You're just dropping down, 20 to 30 spots. So I would expect that to be in the offing, but not necessarily imminent.
All right, let's get to the Buffalo game. What was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway in this game was Drake freaking Maye. Drake Maye. So starting with basically the DeMario Douglas sideline pass on the last drive of the first half. From then to the end of the game, Drake Maye played at an elite level. He did. I mean, he was outstanding in that game. I mean, I think, let's just say this, he didn't have a great first half until that final drive. Okay. But he elevated himself in the team from there on out and outdueled Josh Allen. He out Josh Allen. And he was just from that drive, from that pass, I think I had him for like 11 plus plays and 2 minus plays. And 5 of the plays were elite level quarterbacking. And now, does that mean that Drake Maye's elite right now? No, but it's certainly great to know that he can elevate himself, that he could get to that level just in general, let alone there with Josh Allen on the other sidelines on Sunday Night Football against a division rival. So, my biggest takeaway was Drake Maye rose another level, at least temporarily, and that was eye-popping. He was outstanding. He had so many tremendous plays down the stretch. The Patriots do not win that game without Drake Maye doing what he did, and for him to be at that point after where he was in week one is just astounding. So my biggest takeaway is Drake freaking Maye just going to an elite level, at least temporarily, and carrying this team basically to victory.
Yeah, we saw some of those throws, right? I'm sure a lot of people can guess some of the elite level plays you're talking about. I'd imagine off the one leg, rolling to your right, the 30-plus yard dime on the sideline to Stefon Diggs was just a tremendous play. That replay from the end zone camera is outstanding. Just to see that play unfold the way it did. Obviously, the first down play on the game-winning drive where he escapes somehow, some way to get it to Diggs, that was a tremendous play. I thought the couple of throws to Hunter Henry in the middle of the field were also really, really good throws. He was excellent, especially in the second half. But as you mentioned, I wouldn't say it was a tale of two halves because he got it going a little bit late in the first half. But, Greg, I thought early on he was doing some of the stuff we had seen him do when he hasn't been at his best. Week one, some of the stuff against the Steelers, which is, feeling the pressure when it's not really there, drifting into pressure, not keeping his eyes downfield, remaining as a passer. Did you see some of the same stuff and the same, let me create a word if it doesn't exist, jitteriness early in this game?
I know, and I already heard from people when I pointed out that like the Bills barely. I think I had them for one blitz in the first half, and Drake Maye did not play well, and I just said he played okay in the first half, and I got blowback on that. I mean, can we just be adults here and just it's a fact. Drake Maye did not play well in the first half until the final drive. He even took a knockdown early on that drive that he didn't need to take, but I had him for 2 sacks. And Drake Maye also admitted this stuff at the podium after the game, that he did not play well in the first half, that he took a couple sacks that he didn't need to. Chris Collinsworth pointed out on the broadcast very well that, he wasn't keeping his eyes down the field. But I agree. One play, and actually they called this play twice, shows sort of how I'm impressed with Drake Maye about how just the improvement that he makes, not only from game to game, but during the game. So there was a play early in that game. I'm not sure when it was, but Drake Maye took a check down to Travion Henderson and got 4 or 5 yards. And, a lot of people would be like, okay, that's fine. And as opposed to Josh Allen, who did not take the check downs at all in this game and should have. And it's part of the reason why Drake Maye outdueled him in this game. So on that play to Travion Henderson, they ran a play where Mac Hollins runs he nods to the flag and then he goes to the post. It's an over route, and then Hunter Henry's coming open. On the play, the Patriots max protected the play. It was really only a 2-man route. And Drake Maye had all freaking day. Nobody was near him. And he quickly took the check down when Hunter Henry was coming open. But guess what? I'm sure they went back to the sideline. McDaniel shows them the picture, probably says to him, hey, look at the picture. Look how much time you have. Just relax. Take your time. Take a beat. Let the play develop. And wouldn't you know, they come back to that play, and that was, the Hunter Henry, twisting in the air pass. They ran the exact same play. They hit it. It was a big play on that final drive. And so, so that just shows you Drake Maye struggle at certain points in the game, and he did in the first half. I think until that Demario Douglas pass, I think I had him for 1+ play and 6 minus plays, and almost all of them were him bringing pressure upon himself when he didn't need to. But for whatever reason in the second half, maybe the Bills blitzing a little bit more. At one point, they blitzed 5 straight plays when the Bills were down 7. The Patriots were driving. I think that plays into Drake a little bit more, especially when you allow him to escape to the right and you don't have a plan to say, all right, we're going to blitz, but we're going to come from his front side so he can't escape that way. But I thought you're right. It wasn't a tale of two halves because he did start cooking at the end of the first half. But from that point on, he was Drake Maye, top 5 NFL QB, and the Patriots do not win that game by 3 points unless he plays out of his rear end and outplays Josh Allen.
And I think it's actually a credit to mention that he wasn't very good to start this game, and the fact that he was off to a slow start. In most of the first half, he was jittery. Because of the improvement that we saw, the fact that he doesn't get mentally impacted by that on such a big stage, he gets over it, he resets, and he's almost a completely different guy and turns it on and outplays Josh Allen, the MVP. I think that's more of a credit to Drake Maye than disparaging him, saying, oh, well, he was off to a slow start. Those things happen. A lot of Patriots fans, they watch the Patriots. They don't watch, a ton of the league. There are certainly a lot of Patriots fans that do watch a lot of NFL football on a weekly basis. But I'm telling you, like look at Patrick Mahomes last night, the interception he throws at the 1 yard line to Jacksonville, primetime game, a guy who's, known as the best quarterback in football for the past 7-8 years. And he makes that kind of a mistake. Those things happen. It's whether or not you can get over them and prove that you can play at a higher level when your team needs you to. And that's what Maye did on Sunday night. I want to ask you,
Nick, let me ask one thing. Let me add one thing to that.
Sure.
So, on the first drive, the third down sack I put on Maye. So, a little bit of a slow start, but, things might've been different if Stevenson doesn't fumble after a 7-yard gain. It was, one of the few good run plays that they had in the game. They were at the Buffalo 47. Who knows what Drake Maye goes from there. Then the next drive, Diggs drops a third down pass, near midfield, where I thought Drake Maye did a great job of putting the ball on his outside shoulder to get him away from the linebacker that was there. That was a drop on Maye. And then you have the Vidarian Lowe 3rd and 1 false start. So if those things don't happen, sort of the self-inflicted wounds from the Patriots, and, the Bills were in a similar predicament, probably worse in the first half. Who knows? Maybe Drake Maye gets a little bit settled down a little bit earlier, and, he plays like he did at the end of the first half earlier in that half.
Anybody watching this game could tell you that Stefon Diggs was good, if not really good.
Yep.
But what did you see on film, Greg, during Diggs' snaps?
So, first of all, I love that they're able to get that kind of production out of Stefon Diggs when he only plays 50% of the snaps. I think that is an ideal world. I think that him playing, fewer snaps, like between like 50 or 60 is sort of like his sweet spot, because I do think he needs that time, with his legs. And when he was out there, he just had juice in his legs that I haven't seen before. He was outstanding after the catch. He had 62 yards after the catch, which was by far the most on the team. I think the rest of the team probably had about 20, maybe. I think that him being back in Buffalo, a lot more adrenaline because of that. Also knowing how they play their defense, and also, like we talked about going into this game, Buffalo's secondary is not very good. The cornerbacks are not very good. So there's no question that Diggs was, was outstanding. Made some tremendous catches, and so it was great. I mean, I don't know if they can count on this type of thing every week, because it won't be the Bills, and who knows about the other team's secondary, and teams are going to start to key on him if they see that he's sort of driving the bus for Drake Maye and there's a comfort level there. Teams are going to start to take away, I think, him and Hunter Henry, and people are going to need to May's going to have to eat with other people, and we'll see how that develops. But tremendous game from Stefon Diggs as well.
Here's the good thing. It feels like Drake Maye has 2 or 3 guys that he can trust in critical downs. That wasn't the case last year. Last year, it was a lot of Hunter Henry. When it was a 3rd down and you absolutely had to have it, you could almost bet your life that it was going to be Henry. But this year, Drake has Diggs. He's got Kayshon Boutte, who he's gone to a couple of times in big moments, including Sunday night. and he's got Henry. So it feels like he has at least 3 guys that he trusts and 3 guys that have shown that they can actually convert on these bigger downs. All right, I got a couple more things offensively I want to ask Greg about, but first he wants to talk to you about PrizePicks.
You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. I sit down Monday Night Football last night, Thursday Night Football, the college games. I open up the app and play along. App is easy to use. I love it. I have a lot of fun. It makes the games a little bit more interesting. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less than at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. I love that. I used to get annoyed where I could only pick a player like once and I had to figure out which category. But if you think a guy's going to go off like Drake Maye, now you can pick him 3 times from his stats, from passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns. Now you can pick all 3 of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tabs on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
For those listening, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel. You can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. And don't forget to check out Greg along with Mike Giardi at BSJ, $50 for the year. They do a tremendous job with their Patriots coverage. Greg, I thought the offensive line was pretty good in pass protection. Seems you disagree, especially on Will Campbell.
Yeah, I thought this was the toughest game that the 2 rookies, including Campbell, had in this game. Will Campbell is actually my lowest rated Patriots offensive lineman. I had him for 7 pressures allowed in this game. Some of those happened on plays that are negated by penalty, but they're still reps. They still, count in terms of my grading. And I also think PFF, does the same thing. He did get some help from the backs on Joey Bosa. I mean, I thought he did fine overall. I didn't think he was bad or anything like that. But I do think this is a case of we see it, especially when the Patriots have the scoreboard in their favor. Josh McDaniels is kind of hiding the line a little bit in pass protection. This time around, I'm trying to find my stat that I had in terms of, I found it. Just 13 of the 40 dropbacks were 2 true dropback sets. That's 33%. The week prior, it was 39%. So that means, when you see these boot actions and other deceptive plays or move in the pocket or, those types of things, it's not like they're, down by 2 scores, shotgun, Drake Maye is just going back or not a whole lot of traditional like play action plays where, they're just having to straight up pass block. And I think there's a reason for that between, the 2 rookies and also Garrett Bradbury, because the last time we saw them sort of do that was the Minnesota joint practices where you don't use any of this game plan stuff. You just sort of play straight up and so you can evaluate people, and they had a rough time out in Minnesota. But, when you're able to game plan, this is the stuff that I used to get really angry about last year with Alex Van Pelt about he didn't help out the offensive line at all and change pitches and move the pocket and things like that, where Josh McDaniels is now doing that all the time. And I think it's helping the offensive linemen. It's helping the offense. I mean, look, the passing offense is one of the most efficient in the league. I mean, they're 13th in DVOA. A lot of their metrics are top 10, top 5 in some circumstances, and so it's all working and it's good. When the scoreboard's in your favor, but that doesn't mean the Patriots have a great offensive line or anything like that. Like, that's not really going to tell the tale until we see them behind in situations where they have to pass and drop back to pass. And they haven't been in that situation in a couple games.
Albeit for me to disagree. I am not an offensive line guru, but I completely disagree about your assessment with Will Campbell. I thought he was actually pretty damn good. I didn't see him get beat nearly as many times as you saw him get beat. 7 pressures to me is egregiously high. Again, I'll agree 7, to disagree with you.
4.
Oh, 4. I think you said 7 earlier. All right, so I mean, I still don't think he was beat that many times. I thought he was actually really good in pass protection. I thought Jared Wilson had a rough night. I thought Owenu had a couple of moments where it was like, hey, here we go. Even Bradbury a couple times here and there. I thought Morgan Moses, really nothing glaring from him. But I thought Will Campbell was really good in pass protection. For the other side of that, just to let people know, again, Greg obviously has his own grading system. I know Pro Football Focus looks, at different people look at Pro Football Focus and they look down upon their pressure rates and all that stuff. But Pro Football Focus, for what it's worth, had 40 pass blocking snaps, 0 sacks allowed, 0 pressure, 0 quarterback hits, 2 hurries on Will Campbell. Their pass block efficiency for him was 97.2%. So I thought he was really good in pass pro, but Greg disagrees. Let me ask you one more question about this offense, Greg. Mm-hmm. How in the hell can they get the run game going?
That is a great question, Nick, because, as great as it is that we saw what we did from Drake Maye in this game and that they were, in the second half able to play, pretty good offense. This is not sustainable against good teams. If this team, wants to go to the postseason, if they, perhaps want to win a postseason game or two, this is not sustainable. This rushing offense is it's terrible. I would say, the initial blocking is good. I would say the second level stuff isn't great. The tight ends, and I love them. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, it's not their calling card, run blocking, but they have to do it. Really the only stuff they're getting is, scheme stuff like the Stevenson touchdown. He goes in untouched. TreVeyon Henderson, both of them were on like schemed pitch plays. TreVeyon Henderson gets 13 yards. Of course, we're taking Drake Maye out of the mix in terms of the running, but you just got to rely on these guys getting better. And you just have to remind yourselves that, they're starting 2 rookies on the left side. Morgan Moses is, more of a pass blocker than he is a run blocker. He's not exactly a downhill guy. The execution is just going to have to get better over the course of the season, but it's not sustainable. I mean, it's great that Drake Maye did what he did the other night, but if it's just, look at the Bills the other night, and you revert back into, if you're relying on Drake Maye just to pull plays out of your rear end, that's no way to play offense in the NFL. And they need to get the running game going. That will open up even more things in the pass game. But I don't think there's an easy fix. I mean, I would love to see them go out and get a blocking tight end or, a real fullback. But I just don't know if that's in the cards. And so it's just going to have to come from, better execution, watching it on film, getting better. Really the second level stuff is where they're struggling, because I do think that there are holes initially and they're getting there. It's just they're not getting the linebackers. They're not getting the safeties. And that's when you pop runs. And the Patriots just haven't been able to do that.
All right, let's move to the defense. I know last week you talked about the game plans and how you weren't thrilled with some of the game plans this year so far. What'd you think of Zak Kuhr and Mike Vrabel's game plan this week?
Yeah, I thought it was terrific. I mean, I thought that they definitely came in. It was sort of the anti-Steelers game plan, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Where Josh Allen does not like to throw deep anymore, and he doesn't really have any deep targets. I mean, Keon Coleman's like okay. But he's not going to blow by anybody. Most of his guys, similar to the Patriots, are, tight ends, and Khalil Shakir, who's sort of in the Stefon Diggs role. So it looked like they came into this and they say, we're not afraid of anybody on the Bills, beating us deep. And so we're going to play closer to the line of scrimmage. We're going to drop a safety down. We're going to make the Bills try to beat us over the top, which they probably can't do. And we're going to key on shutting down the running game. And I thought that their decisions to, play a little bit heavier line at times with Milton Williams at defensive end and putting in like a Kyrus Tonga, or, I thought Josh Farmer played a pretty good game. Corey Durden played a really good game in reserve. They got heavier at times. They matched the Bills are pretty good with their multiple tight end lineups, whether that's, passing to Kincaid and Knox, or when Haas comes in, running the ball. I thought them matching with more linebackers, most notably Jelani Tavai, I thought was a really good decision. And that they really sort of bottled up the run game of the Bills. The Bills went away from the run game a little bit too much than I thought they should have. But I think that had to do with how the Patriots were playing them. They're like, all right, there's a heavy box. Like, we're not going to run into this and we're going to throw. And that sort of played into the Patriots' hands with, Gonzalez and Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones in coverage. So I thought the plan was really good. I thought the execution was really good for the most part. And so, this was great to see.
Yeah, coming into the game, the biggest question was strength versus strength. Buffalo loves to run the football. I mentioned it last week. I talked about this a lot on the Locked On Patriots preview that I did late last week, which was I actually focused more on James Cook than I did Josh Allen previewing the game. And it's not because Josh Allen's not a great quarterback. He is obviously reigning MVP. But the run game is really what gets the Buffalo offense going in 2025. And if you can limit James Cook, you're going to throw them off their game. And I think we saw that on Sunday night where it kind of threw off Josh Allen a little bit. And they couldn't go to James Cook to get these explosive plays. He didn't have a single run over 10 yards. Coming into the game, he had 10 runs of over 10 yards. Their explosive plays are from the run game from Cook, from Josh Allen scrambling, and, some of the design run stuff that they can do with Joe Brady, using Josh Allen's legs. But Josh Allen scrambling, which we saw a couple times on Sunday night, and yards after the catch. And I thought they did a really good job of shutting down cutback lanes for James Cook. He loves to be slithery. He'll go one way, cut another, turn a run that should be 2 yards into 15 yards. They didn't give that up at all on Sunday night. Really good job by them. And I'm glad you brought up both Farmer and Durden, because look, the penalties on those guys, inexcusable, outrageous. Yep. You just can't have it. You just can't have it. However, I will say, I agree with Greg. They showed up on film a little bit. And I thought Joshua Farmer had a couple of impact plays against the run in this game. So, that's why they're playing. They just got to not do the outrageous in the fourth quarter of a close game. But I thought they were just terrific against the run overall. And as you said, Greg, they really bottled up what Buffalo wanted to do. What'd you make of the man coverage versus Buffalo?
So they played the most they have to this point. It still wasn't a ton. It was like, 37, 38%. Of course, against a guy like Josh Allen, you can't really do that, or else he'll take off running. I thought the man coverage was good. I thought it was, sticky for the most part. They made it, tough on Josh Allen. But one thing I do want to say, Nick, about, and this also goes for the Bills running game, we also got to acknowledge that the Bills shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, especially in the first half with the 8 penalties. They had 11 in the game. We talked a little bit about how the Patriots, sort of stubbed their toe at times with, a drop and the Vidarian Lowe penalty and, the Stevenson fumble. The Bills were similar, but they were even worse. And operating behind the sticks like all day long, it's just not conducive to any sort of rhythm, establishing a running game, all that stuff. So, if the Bills didn't play like jackasses in the first half, is the game a little bit different? Is Cook's impact a little bit different? We don't really know. But, I thought, overall the Patriots were good defensively. This was a step forward, for them. And also, Josh Allen, did not play well in this game. I mean, if he would have played a little, I can't believe I was saying this yesterday and writing it to myself. Like, there were times in this game where I was saying to myself, if Josh Allen just played a little bit more like Drake Maye and just to, look down the field, I don't have anything, check it down to James Cook, they would have been in a lot more manageable situations. And I think they would have been a little bit better offensively. And that's normally when he's going well, when they're going well, he's doing that. But for whatever reason, Josh Allen did not want to do that in this game. He reverted to sort of back to Cowboy Josh Allen, and he hurt this team at times, and sometimes it was unforced errors.
I'll say a couple things here. If the Bills play their best, I don't think anybody thinks the Patriots beat the Bills. If both of these teams play their best football, the Bills are going to win. They're the better football team. They have the better quarterback overall. So I don't think it's a shock that, you need the Bills to not play a clean game, especially in Buffalo, to beat Buffalo. So I don't think that's, outrageous or shocking to say. I will say the Patriots canceled out a lot of the bad play by Buffalo with their own bad play, especially in the second half. I mean, we can't sit here and say, oh, well, the Buffalo offense might have done more without bringing up, as we just did, the Durden and Farmer personal fouls on back-to-back plays, which gifted the Bills 30 yards when both plays the Patriots had the Bills for losses. Harold Landry made a great play before Joshua Farmer, I don't know what the hell he was what he was doing, but he came off the top rope with a splash for no apparent reason. And, that's a 2-yard loss. The play from Durden, same thing. I mean, that's a loss on that play. And Durden does something just ridiculous, and you gift them 30 yards. I could sit there and say, well, that touchdown drive doesn't happen if you don't gift them 30 yards. So I do think the Patriots, they canceled out some of the bad play with their own bad play. I don't think either team played clean, and the Patriots won. So I thought they played the better football overall, and that's what you're going to need against top-tier teams. I mean, Buffalo's a Super Bowl contender for a reason, and you did need a little bit of help. I read some of your stuff, Greg. I got to ask you this because I got a bone to pick with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fair, Greg, to write about the officiating and to complain about how they missed 2 or 3 calls that should have gone Buffalo's way when you and I have done, I don't know how many podcasts together. And you always call me a fan, a homer. Oh, I bet Nick had a problem with this call or that not. You can't have it both ways, Greg. You can't have it both ways. You either look at the officials and keep them accountable or you don't. It doesn't matter what uniform the player's wearing. So I don't want to read any more of you writing about, oh, Khalil Shakir was, that was a DPI on Christian Gonzalez. Well, let's go back to the red zone play when Josh Allen ran to the Patriots. I think it was 3-yard line when Milton Williams was egregiously held in the backfield. We got to keep them accountable. So I get a little frustrated with my buddy who knows football really, really well, does a great job. But I do get a little irritated when I read when the penalties are not called for the opposing team, you bitching about it a little bit. We got to have it both ways.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. I negate. I'm not one of, okay, you want to, call holding, every time the other team has a big play. I just chalk those up to, it happens both ways. Like Jared Allen had a play when I'm watching the film where I'm like, well, that was a hold. So, that sort of inner line play, it's sort of, I view that as it evens out. I just look at, sort of big plays. I thought and most of the time I don't really say much about the penalties. I mean, if it's close, I mean, the Gonzalez on Shakir on the final play, really for the Bills. I thought Gonzalez was early, and Gonzalez knew it. He was looking around for a flag. But I don't have a huge problem with that, mostly because Keon Coleman was wide open in the end zone and Josh Allen didn't see him. But when I see a play like the Shakir offensive pass interference penalty and I'm watching it and I'm rewinding it and I'm pausing it, that was a huge call. I mean, it was going to be 3rd and 1, the Bills deep in Patriots territory. It was probably the Bills on 2 downs if they need it. Go Josh Allen, tush push type of thing. They get it, they're 1st and goal. Instead, Shakir didn't start blocking until the ball was out of Josh Allen's hands. Now it was close, but to me it was close enough where you let that go. And I've certainly seen it let go. Usually it has to be egregious for that to be called. Instead, they call the offensive PI. The next play is the interception. And so to me, that was a huge call in that game. I'm just pointing out that I thought the Bills got jobbed on that call. And it is what it is. And if there are times where I say the Patriots got jobbed on calls as well. Yeah, there is.
Yeah. You seem a little less inclined to do that, Greg. You seem a little less inclined to do that. 1st and 10, fourth quarter, third drive for the Bills in the second half. It's a 1st and 10. You're in shotgun. Allen has nowhere to go. He scrambles. Milton Williams is egregiously held in the backfield.
Can we move on from the holding? I explained why. Like I don't talk about holding because it goes both ways.
Well, all right. How about this? We're going to call the Christian Gonzalez. If he was early, and he was a tad early, I don't disagree with that. It was more bang, bang, tad early. I would love to go back to the second down on that play. So the second down where Gonzalez has Coleman at the back of the end zone and has great coverage, and it goes out of the end zone. I would like you to go watch the game footage of that, not the film, if you have the replay, and watch Keon Coleman punch Christian Gonzalez in the head and then push off of Gonzalez 2 seconds later on that play. I believe it was that play. And there was no offensive pass interference called, which would have put Buffalo at a 2nd and 20, whatever. So
now you're getting ridiculous. All right.
Go watch the play. He literally
the ball was out of the end zone. Like,
yeah, I know, but
the guys are fighting.
He smacked him in the head. He smacked him in the head. That's, if you want to look at egregious, I think an offensive player smacking a defensive player in the head to create separation and then pushing off of him on the same play. If Gonzalez is a DPI,
all right, let's move along. Clear.
See, you don't like it. I'm just pointing it out.
I just don't want to put you. You can make the point. You can say, I think a call should have been made. Like, you don't need to drag me into it. That's fine.
I just don't want to be called names when I point out penalties that I think are clearly hosing the Patriots at times.
Holding penalties and pushing off in the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are hand fighting. Okay.
Yeah, the Marcus Jones personal foul when he's trying to tackle the guy with the football, and the Carlton Davis ridiculous defensive pass interference call, in that Steelers game. Those weren't huge calls, but Greg didn't point those out. He said, "Oh, I'm sure Nick didn't like some of those calls." Funny how that works.
Moving along, let me ask you a question. Do you think this was a statement game for the Patriots?
I do. From a mentality standpoint. Again, I don't think they played clean, and I think they needed Buffalo to not play clean. But the fact that this was, to me, the biggest challenge, right? Like, you and I disagree on how Will Campbell played. I thought he played really good in pass protection, especially given the noise, the atmosphere. This is a team that played 3 of their first 4 games at Gillette. And the only road game they had was in Miami, which, Greg, you worked down there. You rooted for the Miami Dolphins when you were a little Bedard. You know that, that's not necessarily like the loudest crowd when you're on the road. So I thought just the atmosphere against Josh Allen, Super Bowl contender, primetime game, first time Drake's playing in primetime. I just think, the overarching kind of storylines, I thought it was a big game for them. And I thought it was a statement of, hey, look, we won't melt down, if we're facing a pretty big challenge on the road. And I thought, like, to me, that's the biggest takeaways. You have a really young team. They're one of the youngest teams in the NFL. And they, at least they canceled out some of the bad football. And you could say they played cleaner than Buffalo. And I thought that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, so I would answer that as, and I will for my BSJ column, probably publishing on, Wednesday, would be yes and no. I mean, I would say it's a program statement win because it's proof of concept for the coaches. And, like you said, to go on that environment, and win a game like that against, a team with that reputation, it's great. It's going to get more buy-in, all that stuff. If but if people are thinking like this is a statement that the Patriots are a good team right now, I would say not quite yet. I mean, quite possibly I need to see a little bit more. I mean, in a lot of ways, the Patriots should have lost this game. Stuff from, Boston Sports Inf about, how, they lost time of possession, lower passer rating, more penalty yards, fewer total yards, all that stuff. And the advanced analytics, we're not gaga about this win. I mean, in DVOA, the Patriots are now 21st. They were 20th last week. Offense is 13th. They were 13th last week. The defense is 27th. They were 28th last week. So, in a lot of ways, like it's sort of like, status quo. And we all know why, because, the Bills did not play well, especially offensively. But, I think the statement was, like I said at the top, was Drake Maye, that he's able to do this at that place against that player and elevate this team. Like, you got a guy that is capable of this, that can make these plays. And that's huge and gives everybody else confidence. And, it's huge for the program.
It's huge for the program too. For me, like if now Mike Vrabel has something to point to, right? Like, okay, you beat the bag out of Carolina, zippity doo dah. They stink. So you look at that, you say, okay, the Miami win was a nice win. It was an okay win, but it was a back and forth and you had plenty of mistakes there and blah, blah, blah. This is the game that Mike Vrabel, I think, if he needs any buy-in from anybody in that locker room, this is that type of win. Not because you played a clean game, not because you're now an elite team or a very good team, but this is something that the coaching staff can look at. And I'm sure you saw the video, Greg, in the locker room. Vrabel went right to that. Like right to that when he's giving the game balls away. He says, we're going to get you guys, in a place where you can win. We're going to tell you how to win. We're going to get you ready. And this builds confidence in the idea of this coaching staff is doing what's best for us. And I think if there's any question of belief or buy-in, that's the type of win on the road, that environment, Sunday Night Football against Josh Allen. That's the type of win that you can point to, especially early in your tenure as a program builder. That's the type of win that can help some of the guys get over the hump. I want to remind you quickly before we close this out with 3 Up, 3 Down with Greg. CLNS, Media Network, Celtics All Access, behind-the-scenes content segments from many Celtics podcasts. Got the NBA History Channel, Patriots Press Pass that I discussed. That's Press Pass that I discussed earlier. And Bruins Ringside as they get ready for their season opener. Lots of beef on this Bruins team this year. Also, don't forget, PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Let's start with since you're a little sour. I feel like you're a little sour after this win. Let's start with 3 down for you. Right up your alley.
Let me just so guys that I did not think played well overall. I feel bad about this because Hunter Henry had a couple of great catches, but he had a really rough time in the run game, and that's not all his fault. That's not his calling card. He's asked to do it. Him and Hooper did not block well. I have Will Campbell as I don't know if he's one of my 3 down, but I did not think he played great in this game. Other guys, Keon White still looks like he's completely lost. I don't know what there are times on film where I'm like, what is that guy doing? I have no clue what he's doing. Let's see. Jack Gibbons was not great. Brendan Schooler for that dumbass penalty on his one play on defense. So that's pretty much it for the minuses.
Keon White, man. What the hell, Keon? What the hell? Last week I'm here talking about how you played the most snaps you played all season, and that you had 1 or 2 plays that made me scratch my head, including the whirling dervish Nancy Kerrigan in the backfield of Carolina. I have no idea what he was doing. He literally did, what do they call him, a triple Lutzy, whatever the hell it's called. He did one of those things. But he had a couple of plays against Carolina when it was like, okay, well, maybe he's, he's trying to figure some disaster against Buffalo. I mean, constantly going inside, constantly just running into the offensive, multiple offensive linemen for no apparent reason. He looks like he has no idea what the hell he's doing. I also thought Jared Wilson, not great. Again, rookie, left guard, tough place to play. I get it, but he wasn't that good at all.
Yeah.
3 up, Greg.
So my number 1 is going to be Stefon Diggs, just because of, the rate, because he only played half the snaps, and the impact that he made was incredible in the game. Number 2 would be Drake Maye. If you just took Drake Maye from the Demario Douglas pass on the he would have been by far the best player. But we're evaluating a whole game here. But Drake Maye was number 2, and this was just below his career high graded games against the Dolphins and also the Panthers. This was just behind that, and he was really only. That's like half the game, which is impressive. And I did so on the 3rd spot. I just want to point out Garrett Bradbury was my top rated offensive lineman in this game. I thought Kyrus Tonga, Christian Barmore, and Corey Durden were outstanding on the interior. Jelani Tavai did a nice job. Marcus Jones would probably be my number 3 with the pass breakup and also the interception, which I thought was more on a bad route from Shakir and a bad throw from Josh Allen, but he made the play, which is awesome, and they needed it. That's it.
Jelani Tavai, he didn't play a ton of snaps, but there were 3 or 4 plays against the run that he was impactful, and that's going to help this football team. I also want to look, I'm not telling you he was great by any stretch, but I also do want to point out Christian Ellis, because I have dragged that dude through the first month of the season. Yeah. I thought he was better on Sunday night. He had a play against the screen that was good. He had a couple of run plays that he was good. So I want to give credit to Christian Ellis, because I have criticized him and he's deserved the criticism, but I thought he was better in this game. Marcus Jones, no doubt, has to be on this list. I thought Robert Spillane was good again. The first couple weeks, Spillane was missing all sorts of tackles. He looked a little.
He's been great the last 3 weeks. Great.
Yeah, I mean, he looked a little out of whack the first couple weeks, but man, oh man, he's turned it on the last 3 weeks. And just to disagree with Greg, because I cannot disagree more, Will Campbell's on my up. I thought he was good. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Bedard. I thought he was good. I thought he was really good in pass protection. You hear me, Will? I thought you were good, buddy.
Grade the film, and the grades come out where they go.
Greg, a little sourpuss after the biggest win in years. Shocker.
Sourpuss. I'm like pants off about Drake Maye elevating to an elite level.
That's the only thing you're pants off about in this game. That's the one thing you're pants off about. Drake Maye. But
they won by 3, and they won by 3, and they needed Drake Maye to play like a freaking superhero.
You got Will Campbell giving up 45 pressures.
Half plus.
Will Campbell giving up 45 pressures somehow. Yeah. And now he's going to go to Felger and Maz. I'm sure it's going to get even more delightful. Anyway, he's Greg. I'm Nick. I enjoyed this. Hopefully you did too. Back later in the week to preview the Saints game. Talk to you then.